Year 1 and welcome to your English lesson today. Now, before we start today, I want to do a little bit of retrieval. I want to see if you can remember something that we did at the very beginning of the week. I want to know, can you remember the key features of a traditional tale? I want you to pause the video here and have a go at completing the spidergram for me. Do that now. How did you get on with that? Shall we see if we got the same things and see if you could recall all of those key parts and the key elements that make up a traditional tale? Well, remember we talked about that often traditional tales feature talking animals, and sometimes they might have characters which can be mythical, such as giants, witches and fairies. We also said that the characters, let me just move my video out the way, have descriptive names such as the Big Bad Wolf and Little Red Riding Hood. And we also said that often the settings can be in the countryside or in a forest or an enchanted castle or a magical cottage. And we also said that they often had repeated phrases such as I'll huff and I'll puff. Can you remember what that was from? That's right, the Three Little Pigs. Did you get all of those elements? If you did, well done, and I'm really pleased for you. If you didn't, what I want you to do is I want you to keep looking over that, and I want you to also now, on yours, note down these key elements. You don't have to write it. You could draw a picture to remind you if you wish. Okay, let's move on. So today we're going to be comparing two traditional tales. Now we're going to be comparing the story that we've already been reading, which is Jack and the Beanstalk. I'm going to be looking at the Three Goats and the Troll, otherwise known as the Three Billy Goats Gruff. So we're going to be able to recall the key events in the story, the start, the problem, and the resolution. We're going to be able to name the characters in the story, and we're going to try and remember those repeated phrases. Okay, you ready? Let's go then. So let's just try and remember, in Jack and the Beanstalk, can you remember what happened? Can you remember those key parts of the story? What I want you to do is pause the video here, and I want you to jot down now on your worksheet all of those key parts of the story. Do that now for me. Welcome back. How did you get on? Shall we see if we got the same things? Excellent. So in Jack and the Beanstalk, we know that the main character is Jack and the giant. Now, they do have some other characters too, and it was Jack's mum, the man who gave Jack the magic beans, the hen and the magic harp. And we know that the setting was in the countryside and in a magical castle, because once that beanstalk grew, the magical castle was at the top. Now, the problem that happened in this story was that Jack was very poor, and he swapped the magic cow for beans, which made his mum really cross. Do you remember that part? And his mum threw those beans out, and then the beanstalk grew. And Jack climbed up that beanstalk. But then the problem again occurred when Jack stole things from the giant and ran away. And the giant chased him. And he was running and running. And the giant chased him, and he had to call his mum, "Get an axe! Get an axe!" And he had to chop, chop, chop down that beanstalk. And then that repeated phrase, it was fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell an Englishman. Do you remember that? Excellent. Now we're going to need to remember these key parts of Jack and the Beanstalk a little bit later on when we compare our new story. Okay, so we're going to read the new story now of the Three Goats and the Troll. So I'm going to just change that around, and I'm going to get up my story. I'm just going to pop my picture in the corner there. The Three Goats and the Troll. Three goats lived near a river. They were sisters. A horrid troll lived under the river crossing. No one can cross my river, said the Troll. He looks very angry, doesn't he? Ooh, I don't think I'd like to cross him and cross his little bridge. One summer there was a fair on the far bank of the river, and the little goat said, "Can we go?" The three goats had never been to a fair before. Oh dear, but can you notice there, children? The only way to get across to that fair is by going across that bridge. That's going to prove troublesome, isn't it? The smallest goat ran onto the crossing. Trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap. And the horrid Troll jumped up and said, "Oi! You cannot cross my river." Oh dear, that wasn't very nice, was it? Now, do you think the little goat will continue, or do you think she'll turn round and run away? Pause the video, talk to the person in the room. What did you decide? Is she going to continue or run away? Should we find out? Let's see. The smallest goat was afraid and she ran back to her sisters. "Help! Help!" she called. So next, the middle goat ran onto the crossing. Trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap. Oh dear, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think the Troll will come again? A horrid Troll sprang up and said, "Oi! You cannot cross my river." The middle goat was shocked, and she ran back to her sisters. "Help! Help!" she said. I wonder if the third and the biggest goat will have a go. Do you think she might? I think she might too. Then the biggest goat ran onto the crossing. Trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap. The horrid Troll leapt up and said, "Oi! You cannot cross my river." What do you think the biggest goat is going to do? Do you think she might run away back to her sisters? Or do you think she might do something to the Troll? Pause the video here and have a talk with the person in the room. What did you decide? Do you think she'll run away? Or do you think she might do something? Shall we see if your prediction is correct? The biggest goat kicked the Troll high up into the air. Whoa! Went the Troll. And the three goats ran across the river and had lots of fun at the fair. What a lovely story that was. I really enjoyed that, did you? Okay, let's go back to our lesson. So now what I'd like you to do is pause the video and can you try and jot down some of those key elements that happened in the story? Don't worry if you don't get it all because we're going to do it together. But I'd like you first to see what you can remember. Pause the video now and have a go at doing that. Welcome back. Okay, I'm going to move my picture into the middle again so we're not blocking anything. So, the three goats and the Troll. The main character. What did you get down? The main character is the Troll, but we also have some other characters. We have the three goats, the three sisters, don't we? Now, where was this set? Was it set in an enchanted forest, magical castle, countryside? Where was it set? It was set in a fairground in countryside. I might also add in there that it was near a beautiful babbling brook or a lovely stream or a rolling river. What was the problem? Can you remember what the problem was? Let's see if we have the same answer. And the problem was that the goats wanted to cross the bridge to get to the fair, but the Troll would not let them cross. And he kept jumping up saying, "Oi, you cannot cross my bridge." That's what he said, didn't he? And they couldn't get across until that last big goat. She kicked him really hard and he went flying into the air. Now, there were two repeated phrases. Did you get them? Let's see. There was the trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap, as the goats tried to go over the bridge. And there was that phrase that the troll said each time they tried to get over the bridge. Oi, you cannot cross my river. Can you tell me those two repeated phrases? What noises did the goats make as they went across the river? Excellent. And what did that troll say every time they tried to cross the bridge? Fantastic. Well done. Okay, now I'm just going to move my picture up here because we can just cover it over there. Okay, so if we have a look, we go back to the very beginning when we looked at our traditional tales and what a traditional tale has, what elements make up a traditional tale. We're going to have a look here at the settings, at all different parts of the Jack and the Beanstalk and the Three Billy Goats Gruff. What was the same and what was different? So first, if we have a look at the settings, the Jack and the Beanstalk was set in a magical castle, whereas the Three Billy Goats Gruff was set in the countryside, a bridge and a fairground. Now there is an element there that is the same. So if we have a look first, the countryside is the same as the setting that Jack and the Beanstalk was set in, because that was all set in the countryside as well. Now when we look at the main characters in Three Goats and the Troll, the Three Goats and the Troll was a troll, and in Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack and the Giant were the main characters. Are they the same or are they different? They are, aren't they? A troll is very different to a giant. Now, the other characters that they had in the story, we had the Three Goats and we had Jack's mum and the man. They're very different, aren't they? We didn't have a mum in this story. We didn't actually have a human in this story, did we? It was just three goats and a troll. A troll is a mythical character. And they were not the same. Now the problem, were they the same? Well, the problem in the Three Goats was that the troll wouldn't let the goats pass over the bridge. However, in Jack and the Beanstalk, the problem was that Jack was poor and he stole gold from the giant and the giant chased him. Is that the same problem or is that a different problem? That's right, it is. It's a different problem. Okay. And then the last thing, the repeated phrase. Oh. The repeated phrase. We have trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap, and oi, you cannot cross my bridge. Whereas in Jack and the Beanstalk, it was fee, fi, fo, fum. They're different phrases, aren't they? Excellent. Well done. Now, what you're going to do for your task today is I know you already know the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And what I'd like you to do is have a think of the setting, who the main character is, who the other characters are, what the problem was in the story, and what repeated phrase kept happening. I'm going to compare it with Jack and the Beanstalk. And then I'd like you to compare it with the three goats and the troll. And I want you to see what's the same and what is different. Okay, so do you notice that it just has animals in? Do you notice they're set in the same place? Do you notice that the problem is similar? Do you notice that the phrases are the same? What I'd like you to do is notice what's the same and what is different. Have fun with that, Year 1, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your work. You take care now.